Hi, everybody. Ron Placone here. You are watching another summary from the Indie Bohemians morning show. And of course, we talked about the election results a good bit today, pretty much for the entire show. And, summary, I was a little bummed out, a little not surprised, and a little curious about what the future holds. I know that's kind of broad and vague, but elections in general kind of are when you really think about it. So first of all, I woke up and here in Nashville today where I live, it's very rainy and crappy and cruddy outside. And I also woke up to a text that my co-host on the morning show is sick. She has a sinus infection. So I was going to be all by my lonesome in the studio, which is not very desirable, just kind of running everything yourself and being alone. And I had to drive in the rain and it was crappy and dark and it was, and I was not happy about some of the results, especially on the local level. Here in Tennessee, Amendment 1 did pass. This amendment gives the government and legislators significant power to restrict and control abortion access. And they do plan to enforce more regulations on abortion clinics and so forth and do stuff like this. And they ran under the platform that, abortion clinics aren't regulated well in the state at all and stuff like that. And their claims were very suspect. Abortion clinics in this state as well as other states are regulated. And really this is kind of just about trying to squeeze these facilities and trying to make an abortion a lot more difficult for women in this state. And that did pass. It was very close. It was 53 to 47. And it was very much heavily divided between the urban and rural areas, the cities. Here in Nashville, where I live, it was very much majority no. But throughout the whole state, it did have enough of a percentage to go forward. On the other side of that, we did pass wine in the grocery stores. So I guess on the flip side of this, I can at least go to a grocery store now and buy some booze to drink away the notion that the state that I live in wants to set back progress by 30-some years when it comes to abortion rights for women. And I guess that's just the way it is. So on the local level, I was pretty disappointed. I was pretty disappointed in the disgusting excuse for a governor race in this state. Bill Haslam won by a land. There was no competition. The Democratic nominee here in Nashville, here in the state of Tennessee, the man did not even have a proper website. He had a Facebook page with under 200 likes on it. He had no platform whatsoever. All we knew about him was he liked to hunt and didn't like the death penalty. And the only reason he was there in the first place is because his name is Charlie Brown. Now, I don't really identify as a Democrat, and I certainly don't identify as a Republican. But in regards to the political process, this is unacceptable. I mean, a state should have, even if you have no chance at winning, there's got to be an attempt made just for the sake of a political process. And I think that the Tennessee Democratic Party really owes the state a significant apology, and something like this should just not occur ever under any circumstance. I bring up an example. I used to live in Washington State, where the congressman in my district, a guy named Jim McDermott, always cleaned up at elections. He was very, very popular, usually got 85% of the vote. But the Republicans, to their credit, they always ran a campaign against the guy. They made their voice heard. There was an attempt. The person running against him would have a proper website, and this wasn't even at the governor level. So, the point is it was just unacceptable. And so on the state level, I was pretty disappointed. Now, nationally, of course, no real surprises. The Democrats completely phoned this in. They didn't even make the effort. Instead of trying to highlight, the whole Republican platform was just Obama is bad, demonizing Obama. And the Democrats just kind of pander to that as well. Instead of trying to be like, well, unemployment's down, the markets are in better shape, the ACA, despite its flaws, and there are a lot of them, more people are insured than were before. They didn't really try to do that. They didn't even try to rile the base that way. They just kind of pandered into the Republicans' hands, tried to kind of play that game. And that's a game you're not going to win, Democrats. You're not going to win that game. And you're certainly not going to win by phoning it in and just assuming that you're going to be okay because people are still so ticked off about the Bush administration. Time moves forward. So no surprises. Nobody should be surprised by the walloping the Democrats took. That's just not surprising at all. So there it's just like whatever, not surprised. Finally, what I'm a little curious about in the future, marijuana in regards to the state of Oregon, in regards to Alaska, and in Washington, D.C., where it's now decriminalized. That's a bit curious to me. First of all, I thought, well, now that something's happening in D.C., will that kind of be a trend for the rest of the country, you know, now that the capital itself is moving forward? You know, somebody that was on the show with me today, fellow comedian Johnny Dam, who was nice enough to Skype in so I wasn't alone, making my morning better. He said that DC's never really been a trendsetter, which is absolutely true. So that was a pretty good counterpoint. So that's interesting to think about. And also, will we ever see something more? And will the results in regards of the Republican stronghold kind of affect how quickly we might see more movement on drug policy in this country, perhaps at a more federal level? Will it get to the point where they kind of just let the states decide, similar to the direction gay marriage has taken? I don't know. I think now that there is a much more significant Republican stronghold, you're going to see that pushback from the moral majority or whatever you want to call it. On the other side, there's a lot of money to be made. And in the American political process especially, money speaks very loudly. So you wonder if maybe even despite the Republican majority, they're kind of just going to be more of let the states decide, no federal input, and then the states can decide on a more sensible drug policy that isn't based off propaganda and a quote-unquote drug war that failed about 30 years ago at best, was never really a good move. So some interesting stuff, a little bummer, a little bit of curiosity, and a little bit of not surprise. That's how I feel at the end of the day. You know, my life goes on. I'm not any richer or poorer than I was when I woke up this morning. And I guess eventually I'll be buying booze in a store, and there we have it. So that was just a few thoughts on the election summary. There's a lot more to it, but those were just a few highlights I wanted to point out. You've been watching a summary from the Indie Bohemians Morning Show. This is Ron Placone signing out.